Claire Cousins, and I've been sharing with you some of my fabric books I've been making using my rubber stamped images. One of the, in the introduction to printing, I showed you that I'd created these. I'd drawn them out, I'd carved them using this product from Art Van Gogh. It's sort of like a lino rubber matting type stuff, and you can carve it just using a very simple carving tool. I won't show you because I'm going to cut my finger if I do, but basically, let me lay it flat. You can basically score into it and get a very nice cut. But you have to remember though, is whatever is raised is what you will print. So these are just some of them images that I cut out of them. So this is what I did with it. You will see that here is this stamp there, and it reappears there, and I've got this stamp going on here, and it's appearing here. These were printed on separate bits of fabric and then stitched on. This is printed twice, and these are the other leaves that I cut out. So that's the leaf for there and the leaf for that one, and that was just using regular fabric paints. It could have been a mixture of Dylons, it could have been PABOs, I think they're called. I'm probably pronounced that incorrectly. And then what I've done is I've actually incorporated some of Sandra Beech's fabric. Sandra Beech brings a load of her lovely hand-dyed yarns and hand-dyed muslins and backing fabrics, so I've used some of that as well and incorporated it into my own hand-dyed materials. But again, you can see I've also printed here on Violin. Pelmet Violin is really rather nice to print on, and that's been stitched down. You'll notice here, let me just bring this up to you, hopefully it will stay in focus. You'll notice that that's actually been regular printed for a computer printer. That's Pelmet Violin, and believe it or not, that will run through your printer like it would run card. It's actually, and it prints really lovely, and if you iron it, it actually is permanent. So that's also worth a go. And you'll see here, oops, hang on, I've used block printed fabric along here. So that's block printed material. This book's all about autumn, and I've written a poem. So it the poem itself is typed up and printed on, as I said, on this Pelmet Violin, and acts as a focal point, one, to read, and then to understand what I'm trying to get across in my illustration. So this is a rubber stamp of spring and autumn, and I've even used, I don't know if you can see, skeleton leaves have been stitched on here as well. But you can see there's also verso printing in the background. So I've actually been layering it. So I've printed it, I've layered it, I've printed some more, I've cut them out, I've stitched them on just to create the layers. This piece is actually a stencil. So this was a light green fabric, and I've stenciled using a darker green to get that effect. Muslin, hand stitching. Again, this base felt, this gorgeous base felt fabric just here, it's one of Sandra Beech's beautiful hand-dyed. This is her hand-dyed yarn. This was a clear rubber stamp, one used in card printing. Again, just printed onto a dyed material. The little footprints there of the, I don't know if you can see that. There's little footprints there. They're quite cute. This was a rubber stamp, a proper traditional old-fashioned rubber stamp of a door. Again, we're printing on to Pelmet Violin with all the stitching and the beads and the buttons just to decorate. Here is one of my favourite, I think this one's probably my favourite, the poppy heads. See how that's printed onto a two-tone material, and then stitching with muslin. And then the final end of the poem there. And again, I've used the same rubber stamp, and this time I've actually embroidered around the design just to You can see that, to highlight it, bring it out, add some detail. And then, so that page is my last page, a very simple leaf. So it's that leaf in the centre. And then, believe it or not, these were printed on separate bits of material, pelmet violin, believe it or not, and then stitched on as embellishments. I do love doing herringbone and French knots, or these are bullets, these are pistol stitches, I think, where you do a French knot at the end. Back of the book. And I always like to have just a little decorative dangle on the front with some detail of beads. I can bring that up and show you, there's some beads and stitching there. So that was using bow stamps. I hope that's given you some ideas on how to build up your layers. So it's not just about the printing, it's about printing on printing and printing, and then building the layers so you can create some depth. So thank you for joining me. Bye bye.